T.I. explaining himself. They only responding because, hit dogs holler. Now, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. T.I., T.I.'s son, they supposed to think that that's beauty, but I think deep down inside, T.I., he know what it is.
For over 2 decades, not one person on this earth made 50 Cent delete a post, take a public L, or show even the smallest sign of feeling pressure. He dismantled Ja Rule's entire career without losing sleep. He trolled Floyd Mayweather over literacy for half a decade without flinching. He disowned his firstborn son on Instagram without a single flicker of hesitation. The streak held for 20 years. Until February 2026, when a 21-year-old from Atlanta reached into the most painful chapter of 50's entire life and made the most feared man on the internet start scrubbing his own page in real time. Before King Harris ever picked up a mic, there was a handshake that went sideways. T.I. had been trying to lock in a versus battle with 50 for months, and according to Tip, both parties had given the green light directly on the $1 million worth of game podcast. He went public with the announcement, fully expecting 50 to hold his end. Instead, 50 backed out completely and used the rejection to publicly label T.I. a rat, saying he would never share a stage with someone he considered a snitch. That move hit different than just ducking a battle. T.I. felt played in front of the entire culture, disrespected by someone he believed had already agreed behind closed doors to show up. It was not just the backing out that stung, it was the way 50 weaponized the exit, turning a broken agreement into a public character attack. So, Tip went on Shannon Sharpe's Club Shay Shay and went all the way in, calling 50 scared, making it clear this had stopped being about music a long time ago. Anyone who has watched 50 operate could predict exactly how he was going to respond. Not a diss track, not a direct address. He went to his toolbox and pulled out the move that had worked on everyone else. He posted a manipulated, unflattering photo of T.I.'s wife Tiny on Instagram, slapped a petty caption on it, and waited for the chaos. The problem was that Tiny had not said a single word about any of this. Zero involvement. Even Tina Knowles posted in solidarity with her, which told everybody watching exactly how the entertainment world was going to come down on the situation. But the real consequence was not coming from industry figures or blog writers. It was coming from inside the Harris household, from a young man who saw his mother violated in front of millions and decided right then that all rules of engagement were officially gone. T.I. handled things the way an OG is supposed to, through the music. Within 24 hours, he had 2 diss tracks in rotation. War set the tone. Right one went for the throat, accusing 50 of cooperating with law enforcement and using language designed to strip away the image 50 had spent an entire career building. But while T.I. was running the traditional hip-hop playbook, King Harris was operating on a completely different frequency. On February 24th, King dropped Made Man, and it was nothing like his father's tracks. No polish. No radio ambition, just raw, barely contained fury from a 21-year-old who watched a grown man mock his mother on a global stage and decided that proportional response was not a concept he was willing to entertain. Every bar circled back to one single point: you do not come for his mother and walk away clean. That was just the opening move. King did not stop at music. He turned his entire Instagram into a prosecution. He posted footage of Shaniqua Tompkins, the mother of 50's oldest son Marquise, where she alleged that 50 had torched her home in 2008, putting both her and their child in serious danger. A police report from that era backed up her version of events even though no charges ever stuck. That footage, resurfacing now in front of an entirely new audience, gave those allegations a second life they had never had before. Then came what King claimed was paperwork connecting 50 to law enforcement cooperation. Documents tied to a deceased associate named Lomac, implying 50 had cooperated with investigators to protect himself during a dangerous period. In any circle where street credibility means something, that is a nuclear strike. He was not being subtle. He was posting alleged documents alongside video clips, building his case one upload at a time like he was presenting evidence to a jury. And then, as the closing punch of the entire document dump, came alleged intimate photos of 50 Cent holding adult items, captioned with a reference to his own record Magic Stick. Whether the photos were genuine almost did not matter. The damage landed the second King hit post, and it put in front of millions the image of a man they had spent 2 decades viewing as completely untouchable. Nothing before this moment, though, carried the same weight as what came next. King got hold of what he claimed was a childhood photo of a young Curtis Jackson, a little kid holding a drawing. and posted it to his Instagram story on February 25th. The captions were cold and deliberate. How much for this pic of 50 Cent? Mocking the child's drawing, then twisting the knife by asking whether the woman in the photo was his mother or his father. A direct shot at Sabrina Jackson, 50 Cent's mother, who was murdered in 1983 when Curtis was just 8 years old. Sabrina Jackson's death is the foundation of everything 50 has ever built. He has talked about that loss in his music, his interviews, his autobiography. It is not a wound. It is the wound, the thing that shaped every wall he ever put up, every trust issue he has ever carried, every chapter of his life from that moment forward. King did not stop at the caption. He wore a t-shirt with Sabrina Jackson's face printed on the front during the rollout for his second diss track, Sis. Not rapping about her, wearing her face like it was a trophy. A declaration that nothing in this war was sacred anymore. What happened next rewrote 20 years of internet history in about 48 hours. The manipulated photo of Tiny quietly vanished from 50's page without a word. Other posts fueling the beef got scrubbed one at a time, and then came the response nobody expected from the most bulletproof troll in hip-hop. 50 posted a philosophical quote about provoking emotions, followed by 5 words that detonated every comment section in the culture. "You guys hurt my feelings." Whether that line was sarcasm, posturing, or a genuine crack showing through became the single biggest debate online overnight. But the facts were sitting right there. 50 Cent, the man who cooked J. Rule without losing sleep, who trolled Floyd for 5 years without flinching, who aired out his own son publicly without hesitation, was quietly retreating from a 21-year-old. King fired back immediately. "You going to get me started again, Curtis?" Just STFU. 50 had spent 2 decades being the one who never backed down. For one very public stretch of days in February 2026, that was no longer true. What came after was just as surprising as anything during the peak of the chaos. King Harris, the same young man who had spent days dragging 50's deceased mother through the internet, who wore her face on a t-shirt, who dropped 2 tracks and ran an entire Instagram campaign engineered to break a man 30 years his senior, quietly slid into the DMs of Marquise Jackson, 50's estranged oldest son. A screenshot surfaced around February 27th. In it, King acknowledged his words had been driven by pure emotion and that Marquise had nothing to do with the beef between their families. He suggested they chop it up man to man, away from the blogs and the cameras. The internet split clean down the middle. Some called it maturity and genuine accountability. Others called it calculated optics from someone who had just mocked a dead woman days earlier and was now trying to soften his public image before the story fully settled. Meanwhile, T, I kept releasing music, 4 diss tracks total, and his other son Damani added his own entry, flipping an Outkast classic into another jab at 50's family. The Harris family was coordinated, relentless, and coming from every angle at once. And on the other side, 50 had gone noticeably quiet in a way that nobody who had followed his career for the past 20 years had ever seen before. Pull back from all the deleted posts and the diss tracks and the alleged paperwork, and what you are actually watching is real pain being processed on a public stage for engagement numbers. 50 crossed a line when he put Tiny's photo on his page. King crossed several more when he brought a murdered woman's memory into a beef over a concert that never happened. Nobody in this story walked away clean, and nobody came out of it looking the way they wanted to. But something did happen that 20 years of internet history said was impossible. The man who ran the culture finally, if only for a moment, flinched. And once people see that, they do not forget it. So tell me, do you think King Harris went too far? Or did 50 open a door he should have known better than to walk through? Drop it below.